Welcome everyone. I'm Corinne Cornish. For those tuning in live, we are here on June 19th, 2021 to celebrate this year's theme of Imaginal. Inshala is a summer family festival that's in its 13th year. For the last 2 years we've been online, and before that we've gathered for 3 days in a beautiful area in southern Alberta, featuring workshops in the day, fun activities for the kids, and beautiful music at night to dance to. If you're catching this later on my YouTube channel, welcome. I'll be going into the mystery of this year's festival theme of Imaginal and how it relates to our present time of June 2021. So let's jump right in and look at what exactly is this Imaginal process. Simply, a little science lesson here. When a caterpillar nears its metamorphosis time, it begins to eat and consume everything in sight. One day, the caterpillar stops eating, hangs upside down from a twig or a leaf, and molts into a chrysalis or a butterfly pupa, which is a hard exoskeleton covering that protects the developing butterfly beneath. Tiny dormant cells called imaginal cells or discs wake up, and they look for each other inside of the caterpillar's body. Initially, each of the imaginal cells operates as a single cell organism, entirely interdependent of one another. These cells are completely different from caterpillar cells, carrying different information, vibrating to a different frequency, the frequency of the emerging butterfly. The immune system of the caterpillar even identifies the imaginal cells as threats and attacks them. Regardless, the imaginal cells continue, multiply, and they connect with one another. Once a caterpillar has disintegrated all of its tissues except for the imaginal cells, what's left is a soupy, organic, protein-rich, nutritive soup. And they start to resonate with the same frequency and communicate in the same language, passing information back and forth until there is a tipping point when they stop acting as individual separate cells and instead fuel the rapid cell division required to form the wings, the antenna, the legs, the eyes, etc., to create a multiple-celled organism, eventually emerging as a butterfly. We'll be referring back to this process as we go forth. First, let's take a look at humanity and what's going on globally at this time. I've wondered for a long time what it would take for the entire world to change, what it would take for people to change their beliefs, their behaviors. I knew it would take some discomfort, to be challenged in ways that were most likely incomprehensible, for people to begin to question their reality, question themselves, for people to begin to recognize that many aspects of our reality ultimately weren't supporting us, but were supporting the systems our reality was created on. Since 2020, like no other time on this planet, the tangible evidence of these systems are noticeably crumbling and rightly being questioned on the integrity and practices they've been engaged in for decades. The financial, the political, the economic, the healthcare, education, judicial, law enforcement, churches, the environmental, media, entertainment systems, they are all becoming a big chaotic soup. Just like the chrysalis of the butterfly, all of these systems are dissolving. We, I feel, are on the precipice of a metamorphosis of potential great change. With humanity, if we continue to go in this direction, with the human collective in battle with itself, which is creating an unspoken collective hypertension of confusion, with crisis points reaching a peak cognitive dissonance, producing cancel cultures as a result, phrases that are oddly commonplace in our language these days. The lightest and the darkest of frequencies are on Earth right now. It is the end of the world as we know it, and it's a good thing because it leaves open the possibilities of great change while the world has been shut down, while an intense reevaluation takes place. As we reflect on what's happening of late on Earth, I've experienced throughout the years when working with my clients, including my own life, that change is most often sparked when people are taken out of their comfort zone, when our routines are disrupted, when our beliefs are challenged, when confusion arises, when questions begin to arise. Have the people of the world not been cocooned for the last year in some way or the other? Whether in our own jobs, in our own homes, in our own bodies, our own minds, our own beliefs, in experiencing and feeling our own reactions, our own emotions? Have we not been digesting all of what's happening internally as well as externally, doing our best to make sense of it all? Have we not at times been completely confused, in overwhelm, attempting to make sense of it all, not knowing what to believe and trust? Have we not internally at some point since 2020 questioned the nature of this reality and the direction it's taking? At some point over this time period, have we not wondered how this unrecognizable mess will ever be reunited? I'm going to suggest this is exactly where we are now, a chaotic cluster formation of unrecognizable reality, a serious cosmic soupy mush of spinning realities. Some may be experiencing the greatest expansion ever. Some may be experiencing the dark night of their soul. Some may be starting to feel happiness for the first time ever. Some may be facing their deepest traumas surfacing. Some may be connecting with their deepest truth and mission. Some may be experiencing mental and emotional challenges. Some may not recognize the people around them anymore. Some may not recognize the world they are in. Some may not recognize themselves even. For some, it may be all of the above. Sounds like humanity has entered its own chrysalis. Let's look at this form of perspective of waking up the imaginal cells within us, using our imagination to create space for a different reality to emerge. Has this time not been a catalyst for humanity to shift within our own bodies, within our own hearts, within our own minds? And I'm going to suggest, whether we're conscious of it or not, change has happened to some extent for most of us, at some level, consciously or unconsciously. And it's meant to, in order to be the spark for this global change to take place. Imagining that we are the cells in our cocoon state, redefining what's real, redefining reality, preparing for potential transformation, a metamorphosis. A very interesting aspect to this, which I propose, is that for this metamorphosis, change from one form to another, from caterpillar to butterfly, from our pre-programmed belief structure to exist in a state of freedom, a paradigm shift of the mind and heart are required to embrace the full possibilities. And in order for any great change to be effected, this change must start at the level of our own awareness, of our own consciousness, to see clearly, to wake up to what has been hidden, which starts from within each of us, from each and every cell of our own individual being. I see this paradigm shift as being contingent on a shift of the mind, shift of the heart, and the placement of our internal power, which creates our perception of reality and therefore who we believe we are. This is a shift from self-identification and validation from the external reality to return to our internal reality for this to happen. A letting go, a surrender. And death of self is required on the levels of, let's go into this. Externalization of self, the material reality. Who am I? Is defined by what is around me. I am of value because I have a house, I have a car, I have a partner, I have a child, I have a job that defines who I am. And who would you be without that stuff validating your identity? And who would you be if it all disappeared? Let's look at the externalization of self-worth and power. Your sense of self and self-worth are looped through the eyes of your external world, through your interpretation of how you are perceived, through your parents, your partner, your boss, your colleagues, your friends, society, media, how many likes you get on social media. Who are you if their responses weren't connected to your feelings about yourself? Let's look at the placement of power and self-worth. And then as you place your power and self-worth on those people, on the government and the things around you to fulfill you, and that will save you. If all of that was dissolved, who would you be? Let's go into fear. Letting go of our fears. Our internal fears keep us paralyzed and resistant to change, for the purpose of keeping comfortable and safe in our zone of protection. What would happen if we all faced and committed to integrating our fears and our traumas right back to childhood? And the big one, fear of death. If our future butterfly self traveled back in time to speak to our current caterpillar self and told our caterpillar self that we needed to die in order to fly, how many would agree to this? This is so appropriate at this time, as fear currently informs us in so many critical ways right now. How do you feel about death? How would your life change if you didn't fear death? And I think the most misunderstood one, and the one that is most externalized, is our relationship to love. Love is not found, but realized from within. And realize meaning to become fully aware as fact. And people often seek love in others to fulfill that space within them that carries that void. The irony is that love is our fundamental essence. So it's no wonder that over the experience of humanity that we feel it's been lost within us. When the identification of ourself shifts from placing our power, from being dependent on the external material reality to our internal sense of self, then what becomes available is one's clarity of one's truth. What happens when our truth emerges? We begin to question not the internal anymore, because we become solid within that. However, we begin to look critically at our external existence And when we see it crumbling around us, we begin to take note of our own lives, what we're doing, who we are being, how we are spending our time. It's then that we create choice to activate our imaginal selves and change form or not. For everyone, we are here purposefully. Otherwise, our presence wouldn't be required, and we wouldn't be here. Some have been holding space for this metamorphosis to happen for decades. For some, this shift started a year ago. And for some, this may not be the time or life to take that leap. This leap from one form to another is a leap of inner knowing, inner trust, the willingness to die to our past of who we believed ourselves to be, to surrender, to hear our future voice of truth within, and feel the frequencies within our bodies vibrating at a coherent resonance. And that feeling is awakening within you. If our future butterfly self told our current caterpillar self that one day it would digest itself into a cosmic liquid, that you would emerge with a different body, have wings, and be able to fly, would you believe it? I'm suggesting this is the choice that is being presented to us now. What is this choice for you? Changing or not? Facing and integrating fear or not? Feeling safer with fearing or loving? Existing in polarization or unity consciousness? Flying or not? The choice is ours. The process of choosing the unknown is uncomfortable. It can be painful. It can feel bumpy. It can be confusing with crisis points within a collapsing reality. And at the same time, holding the vision of a new beginning, existing in a completely different environment, in freedom. Are we now not at this precipice? After being cocooned for more than a year, there's definitely no going back to normal. There is no normal at the moment. And we ask ourselves, what reality are we choosing to tune into? What channel of frequency are we aligning with? What messages from within are we choosing to listen to? When the liquefied cells stopped acting as individual separated selves, and the same language begins to be spoken within the same frequency, cooperating and communicating together, this tipping point is reached to evolve into a new version of the self. As we shift out of our old beliefs of powerless, lacking beings, and into the knowingness that we reclaim our own identity, our power, our love from our internal universe. We begin to return to the true nature of ourselves. Let's return to the butterfly chrysalis. At one point within the cosmic ooze in the chrysalis, this tipping point is reached, where the resonance of frequency begins to activate a coherence communication, where instead of a cognitive dissonance, a cognitive resonance takes place. The disorganized cells begin to reorganize in its new form. Within humanity, these individual shifts are what ultimately shifts the human collective. I'm going to propose, which seemed to have been my mantra over the years, that I feel this tipping point is when the collective consciousness shifts from the love of power to the power of love. Bruce Lipton, highly acclaimed stem cell biologist known for his view on epigenetics, looks at the imaginal transformation from this perspective. In his words, To understand the opportunity hidden in today's crisis, within the world of transition, imagine you are a single cell among millions that comprise a growing caterpillar. The structure around you has been operating like a well-oiled machine, and the larva world has been creeping along predictably. Then, one day, the machine begins to shudder and shake. The system begins to fail. Cells begin to falter. There is a sense of darkness and impending doom. From within the dying population, a new breed of cells begin to emerge, called Imaginal cells, aka you. Clustering in community, they devise a plan to create something entirely new from the wreckage. Out of the decay arises a great flying machine, a butterfly, that enables the survivor cells to escape from the ashes and experience a beautiful world far beyond imagination. And here is the amazing thing. The caterpillar and the butterfly have the exact same DNA. They are the same organism, but are receiving and responding to different organizing signals. He goes on to say, that is where we are today. When we read the newspaper and watch the evening news, we see the media reporting a decaying caterpillar world, and yet everywhere, you and other human imaginal cells are awakening to a new possibility. We are clustering, communicating, and tuning into a new coherent signal of love. End quote. With the current systems breaking down, we are close to the point of either going into further global trauma, a deeper cognitive dissonance and separation, or humanity can rise to the challenge of creating something better, to cooperate and take a stand for peace, to achieve the next stage of our evolution. And for those of us who are choosing to catalyze this chaotic world into a more peaceful one, there is a feeling that there is an opportunity in our space and time for something unprecedented to occur. We are the imaginal cells within our communities. Our ideas spread and like minds connect to the possibilities that grow exponentially to transform the systems, the policies and processes, to shift all that is required in creating a new structure of integrity and harmonious cooperation amongst us. We are the ones who are being asked to imagine, to be the imaginal selves, to inspire the connection of empowerment of ourselves, to accelerate into the higher frequency of communication for a greater future and work together to make these visions a reality. To network, to share and work together to produce transformational results for the future. Just as it takes the total disintegration of the caterpillar structure in order to create a butterfly, it may take the complete breakdown of our personal and global systems before the metamorphosis of the better future to appear. However, when the people once and for all take back their power, create a unified, coherent feel of heart resonance, this transformation can then take place. For those who believe there is a far greater potential to be awakened in human consciousness, this then explains why the role of the imaginal cells resonates so strongly with us and provides a confirmation of the instinct and internal messages that appear to be emerging out of the confusion and darkness of our disrupted times. So for those of us who can lean forward, playing the role of the imaginal cell, we are listening to our hearts, feeling the knowingness, to awaken the dormant imaginal cells and catalyze a collective imagination to restore this earth, to regenerate our living systems and move forward in an equitable, ecologically balanced and cohesive future. As more and more people become aware within themselves the more and more of us become the imaginal cells in the body of society. This leads to a massive evolutionary change. Imagine the power of a unified collective consciousness of humanity working in harmony. Imagine if we worked like the imaginal cells, thinking differently from the old ways, working together with others who share our values and principles for the betterment of ourselves, our planet, and our solar system. Here we come to the end of the tale of the butterfly and humanity's transmutation, which appears to be a prophetic foretelling of the possibility of a beautiful and incredible emergence. For the seemingly hopeless, tumultuous ooze of our times, from a dormant human collective consciousness to the potential of human emergence that already exists within us. We just need to tune into it. It's already there. It's in our hands. The choice is ours. Let's fly together. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for tuning in. I thank you for your presence. If you only caught one part of this and you would like to see it all, I'll be uploading this shortly onto my YouTube channel, The Inner Realms. And I will also be posting this link on the Inshala wall. Have a great rest of your morning, your afternoon, your evening. Much love. May all beings be free. May all beings be at peace. May all beings be united within their hearts. May all beings be in harmony with each other, with our beloved planet, and beyond.